Hi, Gately Stevenson Matthews. I'm honored to be a board member here at the North Shore Historical Museum. And on behalf of myself, on behalf of the president of the board membership, the director, and all of us here at the museum, let me say welcome to this week's episode of Pop-Up Visit. In today's episode, Amy Driscoll, who's the museum's director, is going to take you into the museum where she is going to share with you the art of George Gach. George Gach, the late George Gach, was originally from Budapest, but lived on the North Shore of Long Island for a long time, and many of you are already familiar with his art, but I know you're going to enjoy this exhibit and what she's going to share in just a moment. As always, we will wrap it up with a message from the museum's president, Georgie Kinnett, so stick around for that. And on behalf of all of us here, enjoy, and Amy, it's all yours.
Thanks, Gately. We're back up here on the second floor where we keep our longer-term exhibits. We're fortunate here to have a collection of sculptures and paintings by the artist George Gach. George was born at the 1908 in Budapest in Hungary, where he trained as a painter and a sculptor. However, during the Second World War, he was drafted and was a fighter pilot. Post-World War II, he lived in Lebanon and worked as a commercial airline pilot. Shortly thereafter, he immigrated to the United States, where he continued to make his living as a painter and a sculptor. George and his family resided on the North Shore of Long Island. George loved his newfound country and expressed that love through a lot of his paintings and sculptures, and again, which we're so lucky to have here. The first one I'd like to show you is called Polo on the Grounds of the YMCA. Now, that may not make a lot of sense, but if you remember from a few weeks ago when we looked at the Xander horse exerciser, we learned that polo was a big part of life on the North Shore. In fact, our polo horse exerciser belonged to the Pratt family. Interestingly enough, if you think about where the YMCA is today, that was land owned by the Pratt family. So we have a nice little symmetry in our collections here. Now, this is the painting right here, but George Gach was also a sculptor, and he sculpted these polo players. Now, I've always thought that George's paintings were lovely, but I really think his talent was as a sculptor. If you can zoom in here, Gately, I mean, you can see some amazing detail in these sculptures here. Unfortunately, we only have 2 sculptures of his, but if you ever get a chance to see some of his other works, he has a bust of Robert Moses, which is on display down at Jones Beach, some sculptures at local churches, something at Hofstra. They're kind of around Long Island. I highly recommend that you take a peek. Now, as I said, Gach loved his new home and expressed that love through a lot of his art and paintings. So we're gonna just take a look at this. This is a painting of Young's Farm. I'm sure this looks really familiar, and we're so fortunate to have Young's Farm still with us here today on the North Shore as an active operating farm, which grows and sells its own local produce. And you can go there almost all year round and buy locally grown organic food, and I personally recommend it. It's delicious. Across the street from Young's Farm, this should look very familiar. I don't know the name of this house, but we always called it the house with the 3 arches, and that's what George called it as well. So it's clear he spent a lot of time over on Hegeman's Lane there. And George also loved the water. A lot of his scenes were of Hempstead Harbor. You can see up top here, but down below here, this is something that again should look very familiar to anyone that lives here in Glen Covert on the North Shore. This is the bridge going out to Morgan's Island. Again, if you stand in this viewpoint today, you're gonna see that this painting still looks the same as what it would look like in person. Now, Gately, I'm going to ask you to walk across the floor with me to look at one more final painting in our collection. Okay, so this is a painting of the Glenwood Landing Powerhouse painted in 1953. You can't see it today because it was torn down, but I wanted to include it for a few reasons. One, I really like the colors, and it shows how smoky and I want to say like pollutant-wise this powerhouse affected our natural resources and landscape, but also because remember that this powerhouse was a big part of life here on the North Shore of Long Island. You have Engineers Country Club, which was built for the people that worked at the powerhouse. You had the little houses built in Glenwood Landing, which housed some of the workers. So While the powerhouse is no longer there, thankfully, we do have a lot of remnants of that culture. And I think it's important to kind of look at those and remember that while that something that once was so very important and vital of part of this community is no longer. So we have a number of these paintings and 2 sculptures, and I look forward that you can come see them when we open up in August. Thanks so much for watching.
Not unlike any small nonprofit, all income stopped when New York went on pause. Until we can fundraise again, we are facing a shortfall for our operating expenses. The board has pledged donations to help with these expenses, but we surely could use your help. All contributions are tax deductible. You can find information on how to donate on our website, and you can also use PayPal. Thanks for listening and stay safe.